Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Daniel Cross-Turner, Head of Programming and Outreach for the Georgetown County Library System, and welcome to Digibridge 2.0, a series of 12 humanities lectures by local experts on various elements of Georgetown County's deep, diverse history and culture. All presentations are free and open to the public. During March, we began the series at our new Southern Georgetown Library out on Powell Road with 4 presentations there. In April, we shifted to host 4 more exciting presentations at our Carver's Bay Library at Hemingway. And now in May, we're rounding out Digibridge 2.0 right here at our very welcoming Andrews Library on North Morgan Avenue in Andrews, South Carolina, right off the center of town. All 12 presentations will also be made available online for viewing afterwards on the Georgetown County Library YouTube page. The Digibridge 2.0 series is supported with a growth grant from South Carolina Humanities with funding provided by the National Endowment for the Humanities. South Carolina Humanities is a not-for-profit organization inspiring, engaging, and enriching South Carolinians with programs on literature, history, culture, and heritage. And today, we have another wonderful presenter, and really 2 presenters, I guess. They're presenting in concert today, but a wonderful opportunity brought to us by Leona Joy Bonds, who is a local historian and educator. A native of Georgetown, Joy Bonds is a graduate of Claflin University, where she earned her BS in biology. She also earned her master's degree in education from the University of Phoenix and has done postmaster's work at Oxford College in Boston. Joy Bonds has taught high school science for 18 years and currently teaches at Georgetown High School. Her teaching excellence was recognized as she was named Georgetown County School District Teacher of the Year in 2012. She serves as Regional Director of the South Carolina Science Council, and if these professional achievements were not enough, she is a devoted mother to 7 children alongside her spouse, Mr. Dedrick Bonds, another good friend at the library who gave a Digibridge presentation. In fact, he was our second presentation in the series. And we'll welcome in Miss Leona Joy Bonds, and then we'll allow Joy to introduce her very special guest and our topic today, a great topic, Living Legacy, an interview with the descendant of James Bowley. So let's bring in.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Leona Bonds, and I'm honored to be standing in front of you today. A few months ago, I've actually participated as a speaker with the Tuesdays With series, and I presented the life and times of James Bowley, and today we're going to just continue that conversation. Quickly, I want to acknowledge a few folks. First, my husband, who happens to be teaching at this moment. He is my #1 cheerleader as always, and no matter how time-consuming or crazy my ideas of projects are, he supports me, y'all. So if he's watching and his babies are at Rosemary Middle School, hey y'all, if you're watching. And then my big baby's at Georgetown High School. I also must recognize Mrs. McQueen, who is in the back. Shout out to you. She is definitely determined to make a difference in our community. She found me at Georgetown High School after interviewing at their radio station, her and her husband. And so I appreciate you. And then of course, Miss Wyatt. Miss Wyatt, can you hear me pretty good or no? You can hear, and I can read your lips, but I couldn't hear you at all. But I think you said I can hear, but I can't see you. Okay.
Okay, now you can hear me.
Yes, I can. But
Yeah,
you
I
can't
had
see
myself
me.
on mute. What I said is you're just out of eye shot.
Okay, I'm gonna move up so you can, how about now?
Thank you.
All right. So definitely shout out to Miss Wyatt. She is absolutely amazing, full of rich history, and I appreciate you. And without hesitation, she agreed to do this with no problem. I was a random person who sent her an email, asked Miss McQueen, asked me to do it, and she said, okay. All right, so really quickly, we're really gonna pause and reflect and talk to Miss Wyatt about this unsung hero called James Bowley. A man who I assumed is considered a kamya and not a binya, as we say in our Gullah Geechee dialect. And even though he was a kamya, he did not let that impact him, nor did he stop from making a difference in Georgetown, and he made Georgetown his home, and we are so appreciative. No one really knows how he looks, as there are no photographs or drawings that depicted who he actually, or how he actually looked. We do have an illustration, and I'm honestly not sure as how Mr. Dennison, who illustrated it in the book As I Travel Along, I'm honestly not sure how he decided to make that video, the image. I don't know if he tried to go off of words that were left, but it's a very nice drawing. So we're just gonna pretend that that's how he looks. And of course, that book, As I Travel Along, by Mr. Steve Williams, as I stated the last time, was my inspiration in trying to figure out or find out a little bit more about Mr. Bowley. Really quickly, we will do a brief timeline of his life, and then we're gonna hit these questions with Miss Ernestine, because she is why we're here. So in 1844, he was born, and in 1850, he, along with his mother and sister, were the first persons on the Underground Railroad, as his auntie was none other than Harriet Tubman, and she freed them, y'all, and that's amazing to have such an impact on the entire United States being right here in your town. Absolutely amazing. So him along with his mother and sister, first passengers on the Underground Railroad. He grew up, and in 1863, he joined the Union Navy, and then of course we all know that the North won, and so Reconstruction started happening. 1867, he was a teacher in the Freedmen's Bureau, and he came to Georgetown, right where we are. And so he worked as a teacher, as an educator, and then he decided to go and make a difference in the political arena, and he was elected in 1869 to the House of Representatives. And let's see, he got married in 1870, and then he was reelected again in 1872. So he definitely, that was like his first part of his life, right? Other things that he did, he started a newspaper, he became a lawyer. I mean, this man like literally did not stop, and I'm amazed that there's not more about him out there. You would find like little tidbits and pieces of his life, but you cannot find a comprehensive written history on James Bowley, even though he absolutely impacted our way of life. And so we're going to take the time now to talk to Miss Wyatt. She is a descendant of James Bowley and Harriet Tubman, who is her aunt. So Miss Wyatt, again, we want to thank you for being here, and I'm going to start off with you telling me a little bit about yourself and your relationship to both James and Harriet Tubman.
Okay. Thank you for having me here today to share with you. My name is Ernestine Tina Martin Wyatt. I like to be called Tina. And I am 3 times great-grandniece of Harriet Ross Tubman. So I'm not a descendant of James. I'm a co-descendant cousin of James. His mother was Lina. His grandmother was Lina, and my 3 times great grandmother was Sophia. and they were sisters. So that's that relationship there. But I am a retired registered nurse. I am also, I taught art to pre-K through 6th grade for about 5 or 6 years. And then I went into the museums and worked as a educator and collections manager, pertaining to their exhibits. So I, throughout everything that I've done, nursing, teaching art in the museums, it's all been about education. Because in nursing, you'd be surprised, you do have to do patient teaching about disease processes. So teaching and research goes throughout all of the things that I do. And then, I am co-founder of Harriet Tubman Day Washington DC, which we got the resolution for it in 2017, I think that was, and co-founder with another person whose name is Luke Fields, and started celebrating Harriet Tubman Day Washington DC here in 2018 was our first, the inaugural celebration of it. And that was about education as well, education and celebrating her life and focusing more or less on the Civil War and her participation there. So I think that's about, and I have 3 children.
Okay.
That are married and have families of their own.
Okay.
One lives in California and 2 live here in this area, in Maryland and DC. So, and I have a husband. You talked about your champion.
I know that's right.
My husband is one of my biggest champions too.
Understood, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's about, I'm pursuing projects right now.
Right.
To start a foundation,
Okay.
under On Harriet, right now, and doing some other things pertaining.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to a story that you talked about when we talked in our Talk Tuesday session. You remember you told me about, or you told the audience that you guys would almost have a ritualistic trip or of some sort with your mom, and she would say like, we gotta go visit Aunt Harriet.
Yeah, that was my grandma.
Your grandma. Do you still do the
yeah,
same thing with your grandchildren?
Do I do the same?
Yes.
Well, I take my grandkids to, especially when they were younger, we, go to museums and things like that, alternative places of learning. And constantly, they know that, they call me Mimi. I have, plenty of books, and I'm always talking to them about faith, about Aunt Harriet and other historical
Understood.
and about our walk in life here,
Absolutely.
in African American, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me get back to focusing on James. You just said that, and it just kind of made me wonder. So I asked you this last time, but I want to spend a little bit more time on it. James was extremely special to your Aunt Harriet. What can you tell us about the relationship of your Aunt Harriet and James?
Well, it stemmed from, because, there were, let's see, 9 of them, 9 children.
Mm-hmm.
And, Lina was the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Aunt Harriet came along, 1822, Keziah was born around that same time, during, not far off. So it was more or less Keziah and Aunt Harriet that seemed more like siblings because they were around the same age. Yeah. So Lina had, I think, 3 children, 2 or 3. No, 2. She had 2, and then she was sold early. She was one of the first to be sold. There were three that were sold from the family, and she was the first, I think. And then Mariah already, and then I know my grandmother, my great grandmother was one of the last ones to be sold. But that relationship stemmed from that. That closeness stemmed from that, of her relationship with Kasaya. And so when they found out that she was due to, be put on the auction block, she and her 2 children, her husband got word to Aunt Harriet, and they did a strategic plan to meet in Baltimore. And just thankfulness to God that he was able to bid on her in all the people and not be seen really. But the thankful part of it is that they decided to go to lunch instead of doing what they normally would do. Where they would collect the funds and exchange, things like that. They went to lunch. And so it was during that time that he was able to spirit her away and get her and the 2 children into the boat and back up to Baltimore, where Aunt Harriet was waiting for them. So, and then she took them further from that point on, in order for them to be free. So, James was witness to all of this. He was witness to Aunt Harriet's selflessness and her shrewdness, and also in her ability to discern and make plans and reach goals. And I think that was one of the most important things that happened, and that's why you see him doing what he's done. Because he watched how she didn't just do things haphazardly. She made a plan. She had a goal, and she strategically followed it and implemented that plan.
Okay, so I know my question actually asked that I'm about to ask or was going to ask about your overall feeling. But I think at this point we kind of know that, number one, you're proud. This person, again, in the face of all odds, accomplished so much. He was a teacher, he was a lawyer, commissioner, legislator, college trustee, published a newspaper, owned a bank, and he became a judge. That's a whole lot. Most people only do like 1 or 2 of those things in a lifetime. This man did several lifetimes worth of work. So we know overall how we all feel. Could you tell me, if I were to play this in my classroom tomorrow, could you give my students some inspirational words about what they should do to be a little bit more like James?
Well, first of all, I'll start with, kind of from where I left off a few minutes ago.
Okay.
And that is understanding that we don't do anything in a vacuum.
That's right.
We need to reach out to other people. We need to watch what's around us. We need to watch other people and use them as examples. One thing my father used to always say to me, he said, watch other people and what they do. He says, so that you don't have to make some of the same mistakes. You don't have to make the mistakes that other people make. You can watch other people do what they do and avoid those mistakes. And just pay attention to what people say and how they seem when they're saying it. Because that is the one thing that he was taught, and he could see through Aunt Harriet, which put her in great stead as well. He knew how strong her faith was, and that was passed down to them as well. But she also had the gift of discernment. She watched people, And like I said, she listened to people. And she knew who to uh, to reach out to, who to take advice from, or what circles to move through, and how to trust people, who to trust, who not to trust. And a lot of that also, like I said, was also that given to her through God and depending upon that. But in this with children, what I would say to them is what he did. He understood the value, and that came from my hearing as well, the value of having to get something better than what you are now in terms of whether it comes through education or whether it comes through being an entrepreneur, because she was that as well. What he was taught is that you just can't rest where you are if you want to have a productive life, a life that you have to take things into consideration, where you're going, and what you want to achieve in life. And that is some of the things, the reason why he did what he did. He saw the opportunities that were before him, going back to the Freedmen's Bureau. When he came out of school and he went back with his parents to Dorchester, then came back, and after the Civil War, seeing everything that Aunt Harriet did, listening to her, that's the other thing, listening. Like I used to tell my students, do you have your listening ears on? Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Because you can learn a lot by listening, just hearing conversation. And he took all of that in, what he saw, how she met with the other abolitionists, and the things that they talked about, the businesses that they conducted, how they decided they were going to do what. He paid attention to all that. And then also, we want to listen to our elders. We want to use them as examples for us. We want to honor them in what they have done, what they have imparted into our lives. I know that a lot of times kids are feeling like, well, you're old, you don't have any value, you don't have anything important to say, you don't know what it's like for us and things like that. But what life has taught everybody, I think, is that it's the same all the time. Nothing really changes. You go through a cycle of life, and you have to approach it from a more positive point of view and look at things and how you want to achieve and what you want to achieve, what needs to happen in the world around you. How can you take part in that so that you can impact it? And that's another thing he saw. You look at everything that he achieved, what he did. Some of the things just was a natural progression of morphing one thing into another. Going from his education, then being in position to be in the school and going commissioner and things like that. But the one thing that he did that was very strategic, he went back because he saw that it was important, and I'm here with the Freedmen here, what was needed, why it was there. It was there to help the newly enslaved in order to adapt to a different kind of life, that where they can be self-supporting and being taken care of in the right way like everybody else. But what he saw was the need, where he could fit into that to help serve that need, service, because everything can't be about us. What more so things were about other people for Aunt Harriet. That's what she taught him, about serving others, making it about other people and what they need. So he went down into the Carolinas because that was where the predominantly large group of African Americans resided. So he knew that there was something there that he could help and address, as Aunt Harriet did. Then after that, he understood, like I said, about education. and entrepreneurship, he knew from talking to the other people and listening, how can I best impact the lives of my people? Teaching was one, but making policy was another. So if he was in being a politician and being where they make the laws and things like that, then he can impact all that. He can make laws and try to achieve things that would help them, because during that time, during slavery, you had slave codes. After slavery, those changed into the black codes. And those things were meant to keep us enslaved, but do it under another name. As you would see in the 13th Amendment, they call it the exceptions clause. And that is slavery under another name. And that's something that's still existing right now in the prisons. That's what it is.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, but he did all this, he went into all these things to try to help ensure a better life for African Americans. And that is the village. That is the African village that we talk about. That it takes a village to raise a child. That means we help one another. We look out for one another. We uphold one another. We don't do things to bring each other down, or things that are negative and will impact each other in such a way that it will bring a bad life to each other. That's not what we want to do. And that was the one thing during segregation that was positive for us, is that we worked together. We supported one another. We helped one another. We clung to one another. And we helped uphold and build up each other. That was something that left us when we became integrated. But that is something that we need to get back again, where we are doing that for one another, but yet still in an integrated society. So it's about not yourself. Don't look at yourself, always focused on yourself. What do I need? What do I need? But, okay, what can I do to help somebody else? What do they need over here? What's going on in my world? Don't feed into what he was taught. And don't feed into the stereotypes and the ideas of the people who are racist in this country that want to hold you down. Don't help them hold you down. You can overcome, you may not stop their ideas, but you can overcome what they're trying to do with putting obstacles in your way. You can overcome those things and rise above them and achieve something greater in life than what they want you to achieve. So we have to stop playing into the hands of those who have those racist ideas and want to keep African Americans down and keep that vote away from us. So.
Yes, ma'am, I thank you. So the last time we chatted, my students actually didn't believe that I talked to you. They did not. So I'm gonna play this for them. And yes, Ms. Bond's first block class, this is actually me. Yes, we are actually talking to a descendant of Harriet Tubman. She is a cousin of James Bowley. And I just had to say that because they said, oh no, Ms. Bonds, you're lying. So.
Well, actually, because what I'm starting to say now, I'm going to start saying now is that, because Aunt Harriet did not have any children of her own.
Right.
And that's another reason why too, because of that with James Bowley. Later in life, she adopted a child, later in life during her second marriage, but no one ever knew what happened to her. And so all of her siblings, their children, their direct descendants, became her children. And she focused on, and I think a lot of people have somebody like that in their family,
Yep.
where one of the siblings never had children,
Yep.
so they gather up the nieces and the nephews, and that
Yes,
becomes
ma'am.
their children.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's what she did as well. But what I'm starting to say now is that, you know, I am a direct descendant
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
of Ben and Rick Ross, because they are our grandparents.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's awesome. Awesome. So we're actually gonna do one more question, and I really want to get your feedback on this, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So I want to say that number one, again, I'm amazed. You absolutely have two heavy hitters in history in your family. I think that's super special. I really do. So I know you're working really, really hard on Harriet Tubman Day. You're working hard to get the foundation set. So I really want you just to take a few moments and tell us anything you want to tell us about your life's mission again. Any new work since the last time we talked about Harriet Tubman Day, and what would you like to see for us to do in reference to James? Because I think he's owed that. I think just like we honor all of these other historical figures and in history, I think we got to give it to James, and we need to start doing something. So what would you like to see?
Wow, you just asked me a lot.
A lot of questions. I'm sorry. I said it was one.
Okay, let's see.
Okay.
I'll try to remember all of them.
Okay.
Well, I'll start with James Bowley.
Okay.
But no, I'll start with what's new.
Okay.
What's new is, well, I told you about the foundation, that's new. And also, in July of 2022, you know, this is on Harriet Tubman's bicentennial year of her birth. She was born in 1822. Okay. And so it's 2 years since her birth. And she accomplished quite a bit during those 200, you know, during her lifetime.
Yes, ma'am.
And still, now her life continues to give, even up to this 200th year. And it's no wonder the state of what our country is in right now, that she is blowing up like she is, the type of person she was, what she accomplished. And that same thing she passed on to James Bowley, but also she passed it on to her other nieces and nephews and like that. And those things were passed down through us, to our families as well. So, but he, during that time, was an opportunity and a lot that he could take advantage of and be at the forefront of what was starting to happen that was great for African Americans, and that was during that Reconstruction period, that period of reinventing your life and what it's going to be like. So, and there's much there to honor in terms of him. Mm-hmm. But for us in July, we're having a family reunion where we will convene all of her siblings, their children, their descendants, and we'll convene together to honor Aunt Harriet for what she did for us back then, which was she took the siblings' children and her siblings that were left, brought them up north out of bondage, changed our names to Stewart so that we would not be detected. Then when the 1850s Fugitive Slave Act was implemented, she took us to Canada until we were able to come back into the States and resided there in Auburn. So we're gonna convene and just, you know, be in our hearts saying, see, I'm here, see what you did, see how many of us are here, you know, because of what you did, absolutely, you know, for us, and we thank you for that. Absolutely. So that's gonna happen in July. Now, what can you do for James Bowley? We have to remember, and this is associated with Harriet on the 20. There's so much that goes into that of why she needs to be on that 20. And it's about how we view how the United States wants to be seen. Everything the United States done is done with a purpose. They've done right from the very beginning. It's not always evident, but when you begin to look back and look at things and examine them, because I always talk about on Harriet why she needs to be under 20, because she was involved in democracy, which Alfred was. See, he took that from her. He learned that from her about taking an active role in democracy, in your laws, in what's happening to you. Take control. That's why our vote is so important. Because people know that when African Americans come out and vote, that we have power. Knowledge, what you learn, and also your vote is powerful. And that makes us powerful. So her doing that and him following her in doing that, I think that maybe what you might want to do, the same thing that we started doing for Aunt Harriet. And the reason why we did that, to have the Harriet Tubman Days across the United States, one is President Bush, Senior Bush, made a proclamation in '93 that March 10th, because did not know her birthday, that would be the date of her death would be the date that we would honor her in the United States.
Okay.
So, but every state, every city, they were trying to get Harriet Tubman Days. The hope is we will be able to get a national holiday in her name. And that is something that is now being worked on and being spearheaded by a woman named Janine Cook. And she owns, a young woman too,
Okay.
You can go online and see her bookstore.
Okay.
It's called Harriet's Bookstore, and it's in Philadelphia. It's a beautiful bookstore. But she's a bookstore owner, but she's also an activist and a leader, and she's trying to gain momentum in order for that to be a national holiday. Now, like I said before, the reason why those Harriet Tubman Days were done is so that people could see and we could gather together and maybe hopefully have that one day, national holiday. Another thing that's afoot is there's a petition out, and I will send you the link for it.
Okay.
Because I just received it a couple of weeks ago. And that is a petition that you can sign online to have Aunt Harriet as her statue in the Capitol building.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And because there's a congressman out of New York that is spearheading that, along with another descendant that's helping. So doing that, you see all these things that are happening. And the reason why I bring those up is because they are symbols. And that's what we have to start paying attention to, that we don't pay attention to. What symbols are represented around us? The reason why they took down those statues, the Confederate statues, why? Because of what they represented.
Yes, ma'am.
What ideals were they reinforcing for our country and to the people that were viewing them? Now, they do have a place, but they have a place in the museum to tell a story that was awful.
Yep.
So we can't deny that, we can't overlook that, but they don't need to be out where we are representing and saying, these are our values. So we have to look at what values do we want to represent in our government? What do we want to represent as a part of the United States? Aunt Harriet being a symbol on that money would be one thing to represent, a force of faith and democracy and selflessness. Now, James Bowley, you could do the same thing in your town, in South Carolina. Started in Georgetown. Started here James Bowley Day.
Yes, ma'am.
You start a James Bowley Day and you start naming things in his honor, those kinds of things. Develop centers of learning or teaching kids how to be leaders under James Bowley. Name the center of James Bowley Center. And follow his example in those places.
Absolutely.
that's what you do, that's my opinion.
Absolutely, thank you so much. I think this actually ends, yep, it does, it ends our time. Thank you so much, Ms. Wyatt, I really appreciate it. I think this ends our time, and is there anything else? Anything else? Ms. Wyatt knows these beautiful people in the audience, so I know they talk to each other all the time, I'm pretty sure. So, thank you again for your time, we appreciate you, and I'll look for that, link for the petition.
Miss,
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
would
ma'am.
you please recognize that
Oh,
poster
yes.
there?
Yes, can
Because-
she see, can I move it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Please move
stay right there, let me, there is a nice movie poster here. You wanna tell them how you got it? Oh, what the, can you see it? Am I,
Okay.
anyway? Can you see it now?
Ernestine, can you see it? See
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Okay,
Yes.
and, I don't know where I'm supposed to be sitting. This. Good evening, class. I just wanted to quickly let you know that Miss Ernestine signed that poster. The movie Harriet 2019 was out, and my husband and I went to find out something that would enable you to see that she was a descendant of Harriet Tubman. So if you look at the gun that she's carrying, Miss Tina's signature is on that. And we're going to keep it so that anytime Ms. Barnes needs to present it to her class, then we can bring that and show you. And I thank my husband for following us, and we hope to see you in New York on July the 20th and 22nd. Thank you. God bless you. Keep up. Good.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We will see you soon, or talk to you.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one.
All right, you too, bye-bye.